I'm building a jewelry box and I was going to flock the interior of it, and I'd never used this stuff before. It's made by Donjer, and so I'm doing a short video on just that process. They say you want to seal the wood before you put on the adhesive. The adhesive really is like a paint, and I think it's a super slow drying paint, but you don't want it soaking into the wood and drying prematurely so that the flocking doesn't have time to stick to it. So what I did is the interior of this box, I simply just got some shellac and put it on with just a rag, wiping it on the bottom surface and up the sides of this box. This is going to be a several tiered box. I'll be a video a little bit later, but for now I just wanted to get the surfaces where the adhesive was going to go to be sealed so that it wouldn't want to soak into the wood, that it would pretty much sit on the surface of the wood, perhaps stay wet longer, giving it time for the flocking fibers to stick to it. So I just did a quick shellac job to the interior of the box. Then I had these little partitions that are going to be inside the box. These are just 1/8 inch pieces of wood that I've ripped and done little half laps. So I pulled this all apart and shellacked all those surfaces as well. Once I was done shellacking these and letting them dry and the box dry thoroughly, I glued those little dividers together, sunk them down in the box, also glued them to the bottom of the box, and then I, with masking tape, masked around the perimeter of the sides of the box above these little compartments, so that you'll see in a minute the trays that are going to go in above this would slide easily and not be against a flocked surface. So once I had all of these shellacked, I let them dry, and as I say, I pretty much assembled it, put it together, glued it all together, and got it ready for flocking. So here it is masked. They say you should mix this stuff, stir it well in the can, so I did that. It's very thick. It's just like basically like thick paint. I put it on with just a little throwaway brush, and because I didn't want to bother trying to clean up after myself, and it's a small box, and so I needed a small box to get into this area. This took a while, and again, because I had heard that you don't want this stuff to dry before you've put the flocking on, I tried to work quickly, and there was a lot of surfaces in there to cover and to make sure I had covered. There are 20 little compartments times 4 walls each. That's 80 little side walls and 40 little compartment bottoms. And so I very, very quickly and, somewhat sloppily painted all those surfaces. I just tried to get a full brush worth of the adhesive in the bottom of each one of these compartments, and then I just sort of meticulously worked my way from compartment to compartment to paint the walls of the compartments and the top edges of the little dividers. So this took a bit because I had to be careful to get every surface covered, and to get every surface covered sort of as evenly as I could, because again, I'd never done this before and didn't know how well the flocking would adhere to this stuff. So I was maybe overly careful to check it out carefully. I looked at every angle, all 4 sides, making sure I hadn't missed any spots. Any spots that were a little bit transparent, I added some. But I did this entire painting job in just 2 or 3 minutes because I was working fast, again, not knowing what to expect once I got to the flocking stage. The stuff was, forgiving. I don't know how it would be to clean up because I just threw the brush away at the end of this. So I don't know what it would be like if you wanted to try to preserve the brush if you were doing a larger area that needed a larger brush. But this was something I was able to do super fast with a throwaway brush. I'm going to speed this up now because this is not too much fun to watch. Kind of like watching paint dry. So I just super quickly, like I say, as fast as I could move, covered all of these surfaces. Then as for the flocking material, it's a fiber. It is super fine, super fine. You'll see as it goes on in just like a cloud. And I applied it with what they call a mini flocker, which is just a pair of cardboard tubes with holes in the end. You'll see here in a minute. And as you work this tube, it just sort of clouds the stuff on. I did this all on the surface of a piece of finished plywood that I could, when I was done with the oversprayer, so to speak, or the over dusting, I was able to clean it up easily with a dry brush, brushing it into a pile and then using like a little dustpan kind of a thing and picking it up to reuse the fibers. Also, when the job was done, I put on way more probably than it needed. I just didn't think it would hurt to overdo it because when it was done, I was able to just shake it out. And again, these fibers swept up, and the shaken out fibers also swept up. I learned my lesson when I shook them out and did it on a big piece of paper that I could fold and pour back into the bag. But again, you can see that I'm just turning it all 4 directions so that I'm sure to dust the fibers onto all 4 sides of the 20 compartments as well as the bottom to get what I was hoping would be a super adequate coverage. And when I was done, I left it overnight. In fact, I left it for 24 hours. Again, not knowing what to expect and having never done it before, I just thought I would leave it. And so I did. Once it was dry, the next day, I simply turned it upside down onto a piece of paper and tapped on it, kind of knocked on it a little bit to make sure that the fibers were loose, kind of gave it another few taps, and you'll see as I turn it over, I was pretty impressed, having never done this before. And actually, after I pulled the masking tape off, revealing the clean edge, you'll see that in 2 seconds here. And you can see how fine this stuff is and how easy it is to pretty much regather and pour it back in the bag for use for another time. So here it is, the first tier of this jewelry box. I'll be doing a video on the whole box later, but just give you a close-up of how nice I feel like this flocking covered. Again, having never done it before, I was happy and impressed with the way it worked. The stuff is called Donjer, D-O-N-J-E-R. It comes in greens, blues, purples, blacks, grays, all kinds of colors. You buy the fiber to match the adhesive, and again, I went with black. Thanks a lot for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and stay tuned for the whole box coming up. Thanks.